So much for getting the right spot. So I'll be in order. Verify that we have a full forum tonight, a full meeting. And easy agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'd so move.
Yeah, push the talk.
Aha, I move that we approve the agenda as written.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Okay, Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and welcome, everybody. I don't have much in the line of comments tonight other than to say that the board spent the previous hour and a half touring this wonderful facility right here. And it's very impressive. And the staff, one thing I said a few times during the tour is I've never seen a place that has so much activity in it being so clean. I mean, the staff and the faculty here just keep this place in an immaculate state, and we can all be very proud of that, very thankful too. Now, this will be our last meeting until August. We don't meet in July. So, but we'll address the time of that meeting later on in the meeting. Okay. All right. You're up.
Celebrating success, we have Terry Brinton joining us. So, Terry, you want to take the toolbox?
Spacebar to change slides. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. I'm the coordinator for Outdoor Pursuits, and I'm here to give you all a little talk about what we do down there at the college. A little bit about the team. So Outdoor Pursuits is organized under the Campus Recreation Department. So we're in with the SWRC. Our director is Sean Noel, who's also the director of athletics, very busy man. Myself, I'm the coordinator of the program, and then we have an assistant coordinator named Brett Van Genweeks. If you ever do any rentals with us, you probably work with him. And then Steve McGordy, probably one of the most useful people on the entire campus and undervalued in some ways, keeps us afloat with the books. Our location, if you're not familiar, we're in McLean Hall, which is one of the oldest buildings on campus, of the original parts of the college in its current location, right across from where we rent on the beach. So if you're on the main campus, you'll see our trailers and vans and probably some rafts drying out front. And that location has enabled our program to grow immensely from where we used to be down in the basement of the Student Union building, and then an off-site facility halfway across town that split our efforts. And so you can see in the pictures here on the far right, we have an immense workshop space that enables a ton of cool programs. We have a full bike shop that students can make appointments for free to come in and learn how to work on their bikes. We teach ski tuning clinics. We do outdoor cooking classes all inside that building, and it's got a big shop door, so sometimes we're inside, outside. And then probably what we're most known for is the beach rental facility, which is where Outdoor Pursuits got started back in the late 70s as a sailing club, and we've grown from there. And then we also run the climbing wall at the SWRC, so you see that on the far left there. Our mission statement, Outdoor Pursuits exercises both body and mind through wilderness-based, environmentally sound outdoor adventures. Our activities foster educational growth through self-awareness, teamwork, and risk-taking. We provide a nonprofit outdoor service with trips and rentals for all those in the community. And that ranges from youth all the way up to community programs that, we have all ages. I have, sailing classes with people in their 70s and, sailing camps with kids that are 10 to 14 years old, which we were doing today, actually. I threw this picture in there because this is from one of our most popular trips. This is our Oregon Coast surf trip, which we do twice a year down to the Cannon Beach area. I really like this picture because when was the last time that you saw somebody, a young person in their early 20s, outside taking a nap while reading a book on a trip with their friends? So it just goes to show that the things that we do really help to bring students and participants out of the daily routines that we get locked into so much, and ever increasingly important with the digital distractions that we're all bombarded with. Our program consists of a very robust rental program, which is kind of unique amongst outdoor programs at other schools, in that we fund almost our entire program based on revenue from rentals and trips and workshops. The only part of our budget that doesn't come from revenue that we make is my personal salary. That comes from the general fund. Everything else we raise ourselves, and so we funded another entire full-time position, a whole bunch of part-time positions. We employ students in a number of different areas as trip leaders, as attendants in the rental shop, at the beach, at the climbing wall, and running classes and clinics. So I'm super proud of that. I'm super proud of the financial sustainability that our program is able to run. So we've got our rentals. We do trips. Those are both for students and community members. We market those through a number of different avenues. We'll talk about that with our collaborations in a minute, but different avenues for different demographics. A lot of collaborations. Again, this is one of the things that I'm super proud of as well, and this is something that's been continuing to grow in the last 10 years that I've been working for this program. You can see on-campus collaborations. Some of the ones I'd like to highlight there is with the SWRC PE department, Outdoor Recreation Leadership, which is an academic program that is a 2-year degree that students go through to develop a career in the outdoors. That program is located in the same building that Outdoor Pursuits is located in, and we are very closely intertwined. Both Brett and myself teach in that program. We employ a lot of those students in the capacities that I previously spoke, and we share equipment. And both programs are way stronger as a result of our collaboration than we would be individually. And that is another thing that's very unique about outdoor programs at NIC compared to other schools and universities. I always joke that our nearest common ancestor between Outdoor Pursuits and Outdoor Recreation Leadership is Nick Swain here, organizationally. So we get, we're staff and instruction, completely different departments, but we work really closely together, and again, are super strong as a result of our collaboration. So really happy about that. We also work really closely with the Workforce Training Center. We market most of our community programs through the Workforce Training Center. Communication and marketing, the outdoor opportunities at NIC are a major draw for wanting to come to school in Coeur d'Alene at North Idaho College. And yeah, we had a youth sailing camp out on the beach yesterday and today, but we also had some summer PE classes that were taking paddleboards and kayaks out all at the same time. We had Ellie Michaels from the communication and marketing department out shooting footage with drones and running around in a little motorboat and taking great pictures. And so, yeah, I'm really happy to showcase all of the great things that we have to offer through that collaboration. And then if we look at the community side here, yeah, where to even start? I think a couple of community collaborations worth noting that I'm really proud of are the recent additions in our sailing program. So we help provide support for several other sailing programs other than ourselves that operate, that rent space from us on the beach, and we provide support for. There's a youth sailing club that's been really growing over the last few years. They've been, some of the students that have come, or the kids that have come through that program are now volunteering to teach in some of our youth sailing camps, and we're seeing those kids developing into instructors, hopefully into NIC students eventually. And yeah, another one is Dog Smile Adventures, which is a nonprofit that does therapeutic recreation, both in Coeur d'Alene and up in Sandpoint and Bayview. We take people sailing out on the water from all kinds of different different underserved populations. And so some of our students that have come through the Outdoor Recreation Leadership Program that have developed into sailing instructors themselves are now working for that organization as instructors, building youth programs of their own, still collaborating with our programming, and we're seeing a lot of growth through that collaboration. So I'm really happy about that. We also work really closely with the Avalanche Center, the local Avalanche Center, which is a partial nonprofit, partial Forest Service arrangement, which is kind of messy. We help provide support for them. We do programs with them, and then other local area schools that have outdoor programs of their own, we do a lot of collaborations with them because we're the only one with the lakefront, which is pretty awesome. So we have some capabilities and experience within our team that they don't have at Gonzaga and at Eastern Washington, and we've been doing contract work with them and helping to raise the bar for their outdoor programs, which I'm very, very excited about. Yeah, so why is this important? Our outdoor programs foster camaraderie, connection. Resilience, I think, is one of the most important things that students gain from our programming. The stuff that we do is hard, and it's a little bit uncomfortable sometimes. Sometimes you're wet, sometimes you're cold, you have to solve problems. Things don't always work out like we intended. But to learn how to move through those challenges with your peers and solve those problems and do it while having fun, I really, yeah, it makes me really proud to see things like our lovely banana kayaker over there on the left. That was an late October kayaking trip. Got rainy, cold, but Halloween was that weekend, and they all dressed up, and they went out in the rain, and they went out and camped on Upper Priest and had a great time. And that was a student-led trip as well. So we developed those student leaders through the Outdoor Leadership Program, got them to the point where they could lead other students, and they all went out into the bad weather, and they came back and had a great time. We climbed mountains. The picture on the top right is from our one of our premier trips is a backcountry ski program where we go down to the Wallowa Mountains in Northeast Oregon. We work with the outfitters down there who have a series of backcountry ski camps in the wilderness, the Eagle Cap Wilderness area. You can't use chainsaws to cut firewood in a wilderness area, no mechanical advantage whatsoever. You can't even use a wheelbarrow. So in order to get enough firewood for the entire season, we bring a full van load of college students. They work their butts off. Pardon me, cutting firewood by hand with crosscut saws the old-fashioned way, work really hard, and the students that do that work trip then earn a spot to go back with us in April and go backcountry skiing. And now that might mean that they have to learn how to backcountry ski, which involves not just skiing, it involves walking uphill, it involves learning avalanche safety, taking care of yourself on multi-day winter trips, getting in shape to be able to do it. And then by the time we get back there in April, we hike in. It's not over yet. We got to feed ourselves, and we have to climb up the mountains from the yurts, which, the yurt is at about 7,000 feet, and the mountains are nearly 10,000 feet all around, and we climb up to the top of the mountain. And by the time that those students are standing on top of that perfect, pristine ski run in the middle of the wilderness without another soul in sight except the people that came with you, the reward is so much more than what you would get if you drive up to Schweitzer, get on the chairlift, fight the crowds, and powder skiing is fun, but it's not the same as when you put in that amount of effort to make it happen. And I firmly believe that the work ethic that this kind of thing instills translates to all aspects of life. So, yeah, lots of smiles. Love it. A couple of goals that I threw in here that we're working on right now. One of the top ones I mentioned before is community sailing development. I went to a conference recently down in San Diego with a U.S. Sailing Leadership Conference, and got to meet with people that run sailing centers all over the country, and some outside of the country. Some from places like Boston, where they have hundreds of boats and membership programs where people can, come down for a small amount of money and take a boat out and learn how to sail, take their friends, take their kids. And I got really inspired to help develop that myself. And it was something that was been in the back of my mind for a long time, but we're going at it with renewed vigor this year. So my hope is to develop our fleet enough so that we can have value for a membership program, and then to help develop more youth sailing programs. Like I said, we host a club of youth sailors that meets every week at our beach. They're run by volunteers and parents of the students that are in the club, and it's been a really great to see that grow, but I also see sort of an end date on that horizon. Those kids are growing. Those parents are going to get tired of doing this for, as volunteers. And so I would really like to get to the point where NIC can take up the torch and run those youth programs ourselves. We've got some equipment to purchase and things to make that happen, but I think it's totally doable. And to see our student leaders, our outdoor student leaders, help instruct and run those programs. So I'm really excited about that. And then another thing that we're working really hard on right now is working with our land managers to navigate the tricky waters that are happening right now in public lands. Our Forest Service Department has absolutely been gutted. Our Forest Service permit ranger is now gone, and there's nobody really overseeing this. And the stakeholders in these public lands, the people that have special use permits, are kind of taking up the torch to help conserve and manage these areas, because there's nobody actually that's looking after our public lands right now the way that they were even 3-4 months ago. So the Bureau of Idaho Outfitters and Guides, which is up till now has really just issued licenses for river guides and hunting guides and stuff in Idaho, are starting to take up the conservation flag and run it up the hill, and we're hoping to work with them in the coming years to help make sure that our lands that we recreate on in the area are well taken care of. And then to continue to grow the relationship between outdoor recreation leadership and outdoor pursuits. I really do think that relationship is one of the things that's going to enable us to do awesome things in the future. And whenever the campus tours come through the outdoor center, which is one of their favorite stops, I always get to boast that the outdoor programs at North Idaho College are vastly overdeveloped for the size of the school. When we go to outdoor education conferences, everybody thinks we're coming from like a 40,000 student body base based on just the offerings that we have. And I say, no, we're a small 2-year community college, and people just are flabbergasted that we're able to do everything that we can do, with so little. So, yeah, that's a brief bit about OP. I'd like to open it up if anybody has any questions.
Any questions or comments?
I have a few. Well, first, I think it's notable that you're self-funded. I think that's phenomenal, for the most part.
For the most part.
For the most part.
Yeah.
How many sailboats do you have?
We have 8 rental catamarans. We have a couple boats that have been donations of different styles that were fixing up and to help build this community sailing program. We don't rent those because generally you need a little bit more skill to get into some of the higher performance boats. The model for other community sailing programs is to have some very basic craft that are easy for beginners, and that's what we've historically been had in the program. And then as you develop your members, you check them off on the more high performance stuff. So we have a handful of other boats, 3 to come to mind, and then we have a 26-foot keel boat that we teach people how to run bigger boats on, that we keep in the marina on the other side of the river. And that is something that we're extremely lucky to have. We bought it new in 2009, right at when there was a big budget surplus, when everybody came back to school during when the economy crashed back in 2009.
Right.
And so we were able to selectively purchase a boat that's designed for instruction. It was brand new. We keep it immaculate, and we're able to use that to teach people how to sail, anything up to a 50-foot ocean-going craft. So that's really, really, really proud of that. And then with our collaborators with Dog Smile Adventures, there's 3 big keel boats on Lake Pend Oreille that we do programs with. We do racing programs with young people. One of the missions for Dog Smile is to provide continuing sailing opportunities for young people that get into the sport. And so the sort of pathway that we've developed is, a student might come on a sailing trip or take a sailing PE class with NIC. If they really take to it, then we'll get them involved with the Young People Racing Program with Dog Smile, develop them through the racing team there, and then the racing team then volunteers for youth programs, veteran programs, and stuff that we do, that we collaborate with. So, it's something we've been building for a while, and hope to keep doing it. The thing that's missing from our fleet is a few youth boats. So there's several types of sailboats on the market that are designed for like 90-pound-ish folks, and we've got some grant requests in the works for next summer, hopefully, to be able to do that.
Okay.
In the old days, we would be able to purchase them ourselves, but our rental revenue is not quite what it has been in the past, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But we're working on it.
Very good, thank you.
Yeah, you're
Appreciate it.
Anything else? I have a comment that I would like to make that I'm sure you're probably aware of. But there's a push here in Idaho, it was on the front page of the paper the other day, for Idaho and other western states to sell off its federal land.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and that amounts to 22 million acres in Idaho of Forest Service and BLM ground. That would be a devastating loss. And with your connections in the world that you move in, particularly with the guides and outfitters, prodding those people
Oh, yeah.
would make a big difference.
You better believe I called our senators.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and we always walk a careful line when it comes to politics when we're representing the college, but protection of our public land, I think, is and especially in Idaho, has been a very bipartisan push to help save that federal land, and we've been encouraging all of our students to, if they have an opinion about this, to reach out and contact their representatives, and hopefully that we can do something about it. And I firmly believe that in order to conserve something, first you have to care about it, and in order to care about it, you have to have exposure to it. And so that's I think a big value of our programs. Why care about public land if you have no idea what the benefit is? And it's one of those things that once it goes, it's gone, and you can't get it back. And so I'm hoping through our outdoor rec leadership program, we teach a wilderness ethics component where they learn wilderness interpretation, which is sort of a set of skills that help you connect the people that you're guiding to the place that they're moving through. And so we teach those skills, and we hope that our students go out and, you know, it's like throwing a pebble in a pond, and hopefully they're all making waves that have a much wider impact. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Anything else? Okay, thank you very much. It was very nice.
Welcome. You'll have to excuse me. I have to leave because I'm leaving from midday work tomorrow to go race sailboats for 350 miles around the Salish Sea. I need to pack. So.
All right, well, have fun down there.
sorry
Good
if I
luck.
don't stick around for the rest of the meeting. Cheers. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is public comment, and nobody signed up tonight, so we will move right past that to the president's report.
First, I'll just say thanks to Vicki and the folks from, I guess there are some back there. I got my glasses off now, so I can't see. But thanks for putting together the tour. I think it's great to have to showcase this place. It is a phenomenal facility, and just making sure everybody gets a chance to see all the capabilities that we have. And of course, thanks for the wonderful shirts that we have. These are great. I'll start off with accreditation. Our upcoming accreditation report and visit are going to be a little different. Steve's going to give you a little more on that later, but keep in mind that really for the past 2.5 years, we've been focusing on restoring good standing, and that's been the focus of all of our visits. And now we're getting back into the normal cycle, and so we'll have a mid-cycle review and other things that are going to be incorporated into this visit. So it won't be just focused on getting off probation. It'll be just normal improvements, and Steve, will, like I said, will give you an update on that later. In terms of enrollment management, recruiting and retention, summer enrollment census has now passed, and I can report that we are up 14.3% over last summer. That's pretty good, particularly for those who don't remember that last year we were up 16.4% over the previous summer. So that's, you know, we're up 30% over where we were 2 summers ago, which is really phenomenal growth. I think if anybody that's in business, if you say you're up 30% over 2 years, it's pretty good deal. Of particular note is the number of students that are signed up and taking full-time classes. Academic transfer for taking full-time students or full-time classes was up 18.8%. Dual enrollment over this summer was up 24.5%. I think I'll attribute some of that to, you recall a couple months ago, we changed the start date for summer school so that we could accommodate students, and we weren't starting summer school before the students graduated from high school. So that dual credit is up 24.5%, and career and technical education, as we got to tour today, is up 28.3%. So all total, and these are all full-time students, all total we have 563 students attending classes full-time this summer, which is a pretty big number. It's really almost where we were with regular fall season a couple years ago. But for fall of 2025, we're 55 days out, so there's a lot of movement around. And so we really don't take into account dual credit, because we haven't started that yet, and non-degree seeking students, because they're kind of, they don't really amount, while the percentage are changed a lot, they don't really amount to a huge impact on our enrollment. But overall enrollment up 1.3%, but if you take out the dual credit and non-degree seeking students, we're up 6%. And the number of credits, which is that's how we fund things, is up 8.7%. So we're right on track with where we said we would be in the budget, maybe a little ahead. Of course, plenty of time to go. And this is a time of year around the 4th of July when we start to see kind of a drop and then a big resurgence. So mid-July things will pick up, but for the next couple weeks we won't see much movement. But number of full-time students signed up for fall, again, up 23.6%. One of the things that the team and I have been working really hard on is improving the number of continuing students. So the students that have taken courses in the past, signing up again and continuing on with their studies. For many years, that's dropped every year. So this is the first time that we're up 3.6%. So it's really, really good show. In terms of community stakeholder engagement, I didn't put this in my report, but we had a really nice event today with the Kootenai County Task Force on Human Relations. They had a luncheon. They asked me to give an update on NIC, and those of you who've been around, you've seen my updates, and so that's what I was expecting. And then when Tony Stewart, who runs the program, put out the flyer, he said I was going to give a talk on education and democracy and an update on North Idaho College. So that required a little bit of homework. I gave that talk today, so it was really nice. I think it was a sold-out room at Best Western, so it was really a nice event. I didn't fall down getting on stage, so it was a complete success. So that's one area of community stakeholder engagement. I think it's very important to engage in those with those folks. Many of you have seen in the news, and I know Tom's team has put a lot of stuff out. We have officially launched our culinary arts sous chef program. Registration is open now for fall. It's really cool because it allows students to master their craft and get all of the academic materials that they need in order to be really proficient as sous chefs while they're earning a living. And so much like you see with apprenticeships out here, the same thing applies for our culinary arts program. And in a town like Coeur d'Alene, you really have to have a culinary program. And so we've been working really hard to grow ours to meet the needs. And this program actually was in direct response to a renewed interest in some of our stakeholders that participate in the advisory group. So I think we're meeting the needs of the community there. And while we're on food, the NIC food truck is now up and running this summer. And it's open on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And it's positioned on the beach side of the Headland Building out in the parking lot. It's open from 11 to 1:30, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And it runs through the end of July. It's run by students. They'll have a rotating menu. So the students get to address culinary challenges differently every week, and also be able to provide food. They're selling food to the public. It gives them a lot of experience in terms of, it's great when you're running a restaurant. You get direct feedback. People come back and say, I didn't like that, or they loved it and come back. So it's one of the only food places along the beach from between the resort and the Riverstone. So it's great to have that up and running. The Workforce Training Center, we had our first apprenticeship graduation ceremony on June 5th. Many of you were there. This is the culmination. As you heard today, they have about 800 hours. That's to be a journeyman, 800 hours of work that has to be documented, which means 4 years. And about 100 students in the trades met that standard. And so Colby Matilla put together a graduation ceremony, very well attended. Now, and this is not your typical graduation ceremony. These are folks that are probably, I'd say, average 45 to 60. I tell you, it was really moving. I think 120 or so were eligible to graduate, and about 75 or 80 showed up. There was a representative from U.S. Department of Labor that was there. News to me, but apparently North Idaho College is ahead, leading the country in terms of apprenticeship programs. And this was one of the first graduation ceremonies that they'd had. Now, I've learned that there are other graduation ceremonies around the country, but one of the first, and they were very impressed with that, so that she was able to fly up from southern Idaho to come and observe that, which was really cool. There was a family behind me with a stepdaughter, a son, a spouse, and a grandmother that were all there watching Dad graduate, and it was really moving. And I asked, so these guys are again maybe 40 to 60 primarily, and for about a third of them, it was the first graduation ceremony they've ever attended as a graduate. So they, probably dropped out of high school, whatever, and so they were very proud of that. We offered them scholarships and we've figured out a pathway so that they can take their apprenticeship program and translate that to an associate's degree if they want to do that. So we offered scholarships to that and saw a lot of interest in that program. So more to follow on that. I'm not presenting it tonight, but you'll see that there's, because we did change the athletic scholarships a bunch and the budgeting process, as expected, we're seeing a decline in the number of international athletes. So last year was 50, 52, and right now we're down to 24, which is much more in line with where it should be as a community college. So we're pretty happy with that. But that's one of the areas where you're going to see a decline is in international students, and it's primarily because of our athletic program. In terms of strategic planning, we're finishing up the objectives and metrics for each one of those. We went over Goal 5 yesterday morning. Lloyd Duman, the provost, will come up and talk to you about Goal 1 and kind of show you where we are with that. And we'll work through, over the next couple months, we'll work through all 5 goals and show you where we are with those, how we're going to measure those and gauge our performance. And in terms of a general update, I want to remind everyone that Cardinal Central is now fully operational in the DeArmond building. It's no longer in Lee Kildare Hall. It will stay in the DeArmond building. It's much easier to see. You see what we call a feather banner, so a little sign out in front. We're going to do some more work on signage, but so much easier to park. We've heard a lot of really great comments from the customers who come in there that there's parking always available in the back, there's parking available in the front, so it's just a really much better center for intake of new students. Also mentioned that the North Idaho Women and Their Money Conference took place on the 9th. I was not there, but I sent a video message, and from everything I've heard, it was just a phenomenal event. They got great speakers to come in and talking to families about how to manage their money, primarily the women in the families about how to manage money and take care of things. Huge impact for the community. And then I'll finally say that the North Idaho College Foundation's really big raffle, and this is number 53, has now officially sold out. So the raffle will take place on July 9th, primarily virtual. We will be present in the Student Union building to manage that raffle, but primarily it will be available online. And yes, the grand prize is a house, and the second prize is a car. So look forward to more on that. And that concludes my report, subject to your questions.
Thank you. Very thorough as usual. Any questions, comments? Okay. Next item on the agenda is Human Resources Update.
So Megan is going to talk a little bit. If you recall, we asked her to, as the first thing on her, she's started in January, and we said come in February and tell us what you're going to do to restore employee retention. And well, I'd say it's gone from historic numbers of over 100 down to more in line with in the 60s where it should be. So she's already been a success, but really we're going to work a lot more on employee retention stuff. So I asked her to come in and give you all an update on where we are with that plan and some of the other things that we're working on with HR.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Corkle, trustees, President Swain, community members, and colleagues. I am Megan Snyder, as President Swain said, and I'm excited to be here with you tonight. I wish I had as stylish of an outfit as you guys do. First, I want to highlight the HR team. You know, truly, just to say, I mean, the success really is with the HR department. They are a phenomenal team, and I'm so fortunate to join the team. I was talking with them a little bit about how much experience they have, and we discovered that cumulative years, there's 52 years of experience at NIC in human resources. So just a wealth of knowledge already on the team that I've joined, and just extremely fortunate to be a part of it and be with them. One thing that I really appreciated when I was going through the interview process and after being here for 6 months is they actually developed their own team, their own team values. And it was really fun to see on the wall. Their values consist of trust and support, fun and laughter, gratitude, creativity, innovation, and truly embracing well-being. And they really do live that every day. And so I owe all the, gratitude and attention to them as I move through this presentation and with what the success that they've had over the years. But we focused on a retention plan in February or March. I think it was March that I was in there. In these 4 areas, I changed a couple of the titles, but they're still generally the same. I am going to mostly focus on compensation today, but I'll also go over talent acquisition, total rewards, and leadership, just for a highlight on what we're currently doing and maybe what we're looking into the future as well. But mostly going to focus on compensation. And the reason we're going to focus on compensation is because it is directly related to the strategic goal 5.1, which will come later, but we'll highlight it on it today. So as part of our action plan tied to the 2025-2030 strategic plan, our goal is to build a compensation strategy that is equitable, competitive, transparent, and fiscally responsible. We believe this approach will help ensure that NIC is not just a great place to work, but a place where people feel truly valued, where they want to stay, and where they want to see a future building a meaningful career while helping us achieve our strategic goals and live out our mission. So that really is, what we're trying to achieve with the total compensation. We've developed a thoughtful, multi-phased plan for a comprehensive compensation study that includes these 6 components, including compensation strategy, position framework, compensation benchmarking, pay equity analysis, salary structure, and cost analysis, and then, of course, final results and implementation. We plan to execute this in 2 phases, starting in FY26 with the goal of ending and implementing final implementation in FY28. So this will be a large project for the HR team over the next 2 years, but we see the need for it and are excited to take it on. So first, I'm going to talk about the compensation strategy and the steps that are along with it. Building a strong and effective compensation strategy starts with a few important steps. We'll begin by gathering and analyzing the foundational data. So this will be job descriptions, pay information, reviewing the organizational charts, and other relevant materials. This will ensure that we have a clear picture of where we are today, just our current state. Next, we will engage key stakeholders. This will include leaders, managers, employees, and anybody else that I've forgotten, to understand their perspectives, priorities, and their experiences with our current structure. Their input will help shape a strategy that will reflect both the needs of the entire college community. With the data and insights in hand, we will then craft a refreshed compensation strategy, one that aligns with our values, supports employee retention, and advances NIC and our strategic goals. The second phase will be position framework. As part of our efforts to support a strong compensation strategy, we're also focused on developing a clear and consistent position framework. This will start by evaluating staff and faculty job structures to understand how roles are currently organized across the institution. We will then define logical groupings, so job families, along with standardized levels and titles that provide consistency and clarity across each of the departments. We'll also need to validate position descriptions. Accurate and up-to-date position descriptions are essential. We'll work to ensure each reflects the responsibilities, expectations, and qualifications of each role. And then finally, we hope to explore potential career pathway opportunities to support employees as they consider ways to grow and advance at NIC, just to continue to see that hope with staying there and having a fulfilling career. The third step in the first phase will be compensation benchmarking. And to ensure our compensation strategy is competitive and aligned with both industry standards and our values, we do intend to bring in expert support with this through a request for proposal or an RFP process for a compensation consultant. The consultant will help us establish a clear research-based approach to benchmarking that reflects current best practices. We'll compare our positions to similar roles in the market and where we may need to make adjustments. In addition to industry comparisons, we'll also look at living wage data to make sure our compensation supports the well-being of our employees in the communities where we live and work. It's just really important to compare that and make sure that they have a living wage. With all this information, the consultant will help guide us towards a strategy that fits NIC, one that's competitive, fair, and fiscally responsible. So that will be phase one. I dove deeper into that, but for phase two, I'll just give a brief overview of that. We'll move from planning to deeper analysis in phase two with actionable outcomes. This phase will include 3 major steps. The first will be pay equity analysis. We'll take a close look at internal equity across positions by collecting and analyzing employee compensation data, identifying any outliers or inconsistencies, and sharing the findings and offering clear, accountable recommendations. Next step of phase two will be salary structure and cost analysis. In this step, our pay structures are market informed and financially sound. We will review and revise pay grades and salary ranges, assign positions based on current market data, validate and finalize our structures, and determine potential financial impacts and provide a full set of recommendations. And then moving into the third and final stage of phase two will be the final results and implementation. Just to bring it all together, we'll have to update those compensation guidelines, review and communicate proposed changes, deliver a comprehensive report, and outline an implementation roadmap including timelines and next steps. Like I said, this is a really big project. It will involve more than just human resources. It will involve finance and all areas to make sure that we really get it right. It's been about 20 years since we've reviewed the compensation structure to this level, so we really feel like it's time to dive in with a consultant and take a deeper look at it. So now I'll go over a brief overview of the other 3 areas that we're hoping to focus on. For talent acquisition or recruitment, I did want to do some highlights here that are really, really exciting. But despite the ongoing challenges in the hiring landscape, we have made significant strides in attracting and securing top talent across the college. These successes not only demonstrate our team's dedication and strategic approach, but also directly support NIC's mission by strengthening critical departments and building a strong foundation for the future. And when I say talent acquisition department, I mean one individual who actually has been in the department for about 3 years, but has only been in her position for 1 year. So the fact that she's filled 102 positions in FY25, it really is a huge accomplishment for her, especially since she's still learning a role and learning how to work with those managers. So really, really a big job. Since March, since my last update, we've had 28 hires. Really exciting that we've had 8 filled faculty positions and 6 director level positions that were critical. 2 of those positions that were really, I want to take special note of, were in the IT department. There were 2 director level positions that have been open since 2023 and have failed 3 times with 3 different searches. When we opened it this year, we had over 30 applicants for each position, and a majority of them were highly qualified. So it really let them have their pick of the right people for the right position. And it's really exciting because it's just not something that has happened in the last 3 years, so it shows the progress that we've made for people wanting to come to NIC. For the fall, we do have 7 new faculty joining us. Those aren't new positions, these are existing positions, but they are hard to fill, including 2 hard to fill librarian positions. And I clearly got really excited about the 21.3 average applicants in FY25 because I starred it twice, accidentally. But this is a big deal because it's almost double from from FY23, which had like 8.6 average applicants, and in FY24 it was at an average of 11.5. So this is huge. I mean, it shows you that people really are coming back. They want to be a part of NIC, and they're more qualified applicants, which is great. I think the star that I am missing was that we also wanted to highlight 2 of our departments that have high turnover because they are more entry-level positions. They are fully staffed right now and ready for the fall. That would be Cardinal Central and Facilities. So we're excited that they're fully staffed and ready for students to return. All right. Next one is our total rewards. I just have a lot of pictures up there because I think that they're fun. Our benefits specialist, who's over total rewards, she's actually been with us for 20 years, so pretty awesome. She still is very innovative and has a lot of really exciting ideas for the future, which is really, really fun. Our commitment to supporting and rewarding our employees is reflected in a comprehensive and competitive benefits program designed to enhance well-being, growth, and work-life balance. So I'll highlight a few areas here. For our retirement benefits, NIC contributes over 11% to retirement accounts for all full-time benefits eligible employees. We do have an amazing wellness program that I can't speak highly enough about, but one of the cool things about our wellness program is if you take part in Vitality in the wellness program, you can earn $1,500 both for yourself and your spouse to go towards your medical. So that could be up to an additional $3,000 for your household to go towards medical, which is huge, especially in the current landscape. For professional development, we have professional development funding that we're trying to highlight here because it is underutilized, but we can pay for some or all of professional development courses. We've seen people take their departments to conferences or get certifications, anything that they need to enhance their development. We do hope people take advantage of that more and encourage them to apply. We also have tuition benefits, so employees and eligible dependents can enjoy tuition waivers. We're hoping to consider looking at, maybe integrating that into part-time benefits, and hopefully in the future look at, really improving our part-time experience as well. And we have biannual appreciation events. Recently had chair massages, which were amazing, if I do say so myself. We are hoping to have that again when the faculty return in the fall, so hopefully they can come and enjoy that as well. Looking ahead again, we are looking at unique benefits to support families and well-being, such as potentially looking into parental leave or caring for an elderly family member. Just looking into ways so that they can care for their family as long as we can afford to do it. All right. And the last area is leadership development. At NIC, we do recognize that strong leadership is key to our continued success and growth. Currently, we partner with Workforce Training Center to sponsor these full-time classes in these areas for all full-time employees. They can attend these for free, which is awesome. Conflict management, professional manager, effective delegations, presentation skills and speaking confidently, and employee engagement. These leadership courses provide valuable opportunities for professional growth. Building on this foundation, we are working to actively collaborate with the Workforce Training Center leadership team to design a more comprehensive and tailored leadership development program for NIC supervisors and managers. So there will be a lot more to come with that, I'm sure, another big project, but we're really excited to work with the workforce training team on that. And the potential impact that this could have to support people staying, because a lot of times people stay for their managers. That is the end of my report. Do you have any questions?
Any questions or comments? It's hard to come up with one that was such a thorough report.
Great job. Thank you.
Next. Strategic plan and goal 1 metric.
So, trustees, if you take a look at this page, use this as your guide, because he's going to walk you through a Prezi, and sometimes the Prezis get a little bit confusing. As you dive in, you come back, you dive in, you come back, but
And I'm going to go really quick, so you guys get.
he's going to try to induce motion sickness. But he's going to focus on 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3 as he goes through this, so I will turn it over to Dr. Duman.
To begin, I want to, before we dive into this, I want to emphasize that although I'm highlighting Goal 1, in reality, our 5 strategic goals are very interconnected. So if you take a look at the sheet that I handed out to you, you'll see 2 little pink dots there on each one. In order to achieve Goal 1.1, you're going to see we are really need to implement Goal 5.4 as well. They are complementing each other because we really need the IT people working with our student services people in order to implement this thing called Element 451, which I'll talk about in a minute. So as we go forward, we're going to talk about Goal 1. And Goal 1 is to enhance the student access and support and to strengthen student success. 1.1 emphasizes recruitment. 1.2 emphasizes retention. And 1.3, you're going to see it really focuses on one target group that we're very interested in right now, and that's non-traditional students. So as you go through here, you'll see that. I'm also going to highlight some of the actions that we're taking and then the metrics. But because we dive pretty deep in, I'll probably just mention a few of the actions that I think are important to us. So 1.1, we have a sub-objective to simplify the admission process, reduce barriers, and make it easier to enroll. Now, to do that, one of the outcomes that we want from this particular goal is to increase the number of students who complete full-time enrollment process from inquiry to registration. So if you take a look, if you think about it, kind of another visual, as the students come in, we take a look at inquiry, the inquiry piece that is the top of the funnel, and then we're funneling down to registration. So if you kind of think of it that way. The actions that we're looking at implementing, Element 451. Element 451 is a customer relation management and marketing automation platform. I'm sure you guys will remember that. And what we want to do with that particular platform is to enhance student recruitment and engagement through personalized, timely, and automated communications. And that's where the IT comes in with that. The next thing we're going to do are what we call drip campaigns. A drip campaign, and this is where Tom, his marketing comes in, is a series of automated and pre-written emails for targeted groups. And each for the groups that we have when Nick says continuing student population or first-time student population, non-traditional population. We are, right now in recruitment, we're doing it. We're looking at those specific groups, and Tom is already doing some drip campaigns with those right now. So that's also in process. Now, some of the metrics that we're going to use, we want to look at some of the applications that numbers in the yield that we're getting. When you hear Tammy Haft, when she's talking about our applications and what our yields are when she comes up and gives some of her reports here, we can see what they were and what they're going to be. percentage of students award financial aid scholarships that will help us see how many students that we can get in further down the pipeline to registration. And then we want to track the number of the percentage of students who complete the enrollment process before and after the implementation process. And the second thing we want to do in 1.1 is reduce the barriers of completion. One of the things that I'm just going to highlight one here, if you just look at the word orientation in an orientation program. We're implementing a more robust orientation program for the students that will include career guidance as they go through the orientation, financial aid guidance as they go through orientation, registration as they go through, and intense advising as they go through. And that's really the key for this particular goal. The way that we're going to measure that is to look at all the new students who complete all the enrollment steps from inquiry to registration, and that's that funnel. I'm going to stop here for a second. Do you have any questions? That is the recruitment piece of goal 1. Okay, objective 2 really focuses on retention. And if you read that, the idea of executing effective retention strategies is the outcome of this goal. What we want to do, and I'm going to bring up two terms, retention and persistence. The first thing that we want to do when we talk about retention, persistence has to do with semester to semester, retention year to year. And so we'll talk a little bit about those. We're looking at both. The first thing that we want to do, and I'm just going to highlight one here, is the students who attend, and it says FYE, that is first year, stands for first year experience. We've developed a first year experience program 2 or 3 years ago, and we're trying to bring it up to scale. Right now we have about 200 students in it. We've found that the retention of our first year experience students are about 5 to 7% higher than students in the other population. So as we bring it to scale and we have 600 to 700 students in our FYE program, if we have that same percentage of retention, it's going to increase our continuing student population. That is probably the biggest highlight of this particular action that we're going to take. The other things that we're going to do, for students who are having problems in their first semester, we're going to be implementing our early alert system for the students so we can get them to the support that they need. The second thing that we're going to do, if you look over on the right, is we're looking at implementing a caseload model, which kind of does the same thing, that we get to the students before they get to the point where they're going to drop from the college. And here's what we're going to do. The key metrics is look at retention rates, which is the year-to-year and persistence rates, and then track the percentage of first-year students who return the following semester. The second part of 1.2 is to increase persistence for current enrollment students by 5%. And again, the actions that we were going to do is really the caseload and the early alert. And we're going to measure that with persistence data over the next 2 academic years. The nice thing is we have a lot of data on persistence and retention from 3 or 4 years, from 21, 22, 23, so we can see where we were, and then we can see where we're going to go, or where we'd like to go. Any questions on that one? Now we did recruitment, we did retention, and this is really now
Lloyd,
I
there's
do have a question.
Sure.
So what would be some of the drivers that would be the headwinds that you're going to face in retaining students from year 1 to year 2? What is the driver there?
Of retaining students from.
Well, why? What is the barrier to retaining those students? What competes for those students?
They usually call them the non-cognitive issues. It's parenting, childcare, work, financial situation that the students are in. And a lot of that carries over into where the students are, they stop attending school because they need to do something else. So that's one of the big things, and that's when we talk about the caseload managers, and we talk about early alert, because we can identify those issues early.
And we have a lot of the services on campus that are there to provide, but the caseload is going to be able to connect the students to those services. And so just having somebody that's going to be able to match, be the matchmaker, we don't have that now. I gave out a list of services that Lynn put together. It was, I don't know, 10 pages long. But if students don't access it or don't know how, we call it one thing, they look for something and we call it something else, so they never find it. And so having a body there that's going to look at them from, struggling with classes, struggling with attendance, and be able to pull that in and then take action with those students to keep them before they get in insurmountable trouble. So I think that's really where.
And we start, as we start looking at those students, then we can, the element 451, we can track those students and make sure that they're in the system some way. And that's why that's really important to have that new system. The third objective, 1.3, now this is one targeted group, and as we move through the next 5 years, the target groups probably change. This one, we're really focusing on non-traditional student populations within 2 academic years. We want to increase our non-traditional student population by 15%. Some of the things that we're going to do, and again, we talk about this in our recruitment meeting every Monday. We are, in fact, we've been focusing on non-traditional students for the last several weeks, and we're putting together drip campaigns. Tom can probably do a better job of talking about them. We're also looking at strategies for recruiting non-traditional partnerships with Adult Education Center. We should say there, the Workforce Training Center also, and with business partners. So we're looking at strategies of how we can go out into the community and advertise and get the non-traditional student population more knowledge about what's going on down at NIC and how we can help them. And the way that we're going to measure those is we're going, again, track persistence based on age groups, so we can kind of take a look at exactly where we're doing with each age group. We do that now. We want to work more with businesses and MOUs to work how we can maybe set up apprentice programs. And then we're going to, forward down there, I'll look at that, track the enrollment data of incoming non-traditional students before and after the implementation of targeted recruitment and campaigns. And that's going to be kind of a big one. We can take a look at where we were and where we're going, and then where we need to go. And as we look at these, and again, you kind of look back at the goals, we set the actions and we set the metrics, but we know that as we move, we're going to probably be changing as we see the data come in. So this isn't working. We probably need to change in some way. And so we're very cognizant of that as we're going through. Right now, we have a recruitment team and we have a retention team, and we meet every week, and we're taking a look at the data every week. Any questions?
I think we're good. Thank you very much.
I think as Lloyd makes his way back, I think the big thing that we see is that probably for the past 10 or 12 years, there's recruiting and retention across the country. Recruiting and retention is hard. Students, our institutions just don't know how to do it. They haven't applied themselves, and you know, Lloyd's been around here for a day or two, and the attitude here and at most community colleges was wait until the next economic downturn and the students will come back. And the fact of the matter is they waited and the students didn't come back. And so we were required to go out and reconnect with the community, reconnect with employers, reconnect with schools. And that's really where we've seen this giant jump of, you know, nearly 30% over the past couple of years. And so now that we know we can do it, it's really now setting those systems in place so we don't forget it and we don't get complacent. And so holding ourselves accountable. I suspect that in the previous, as I looked back at some of the old strategic plans, recruiting was not a major goal of the plans. It was mentioned, but not a strategic goal. So that's our goal one, is getting students back, getting our enrollment numbers back where they should be. And so I'd say over the past 2 years, we've proven that we can be effective in that area. And this is really just strategically implementing those things that we've learned. So.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe one question? We'll ask it later.
Next, an accreditation update. Thank you.
Good evening. Do you have want me to go ahead, sir?
Yeah, go ahead, jump on it.
All right. The college is currently working on 2 reports that are due in the next academic year. The mid-cycle report, along with the governance recommendations, due in the fall. And we have the policies, regulations, and financial review report, also known as the PERFR, that's due in the spring. My report tonight will focus on the progress of both reports. Our initial goal from early March was to have a first draft of the major components of both reports over the summer months, and we're almost there.
You want to advance?
Thanks to Dr. Sherry Simpkins and Dr. Laura Gruber-Godfrey for their leadership with the progress of both reports. We have been meeting on Zoom every other week and reporting our progress to the Executive Accreditation Committee that meets monthly. We also appreciate the faculty and staff who have contributed to both reports. This not only the writing portion, but for those employees involved in the day-to-day operations of NIC to place the college in a position given the circumstances that occurred over the past several years. The mid-cycle report is a critical check of our institutional progress focused on continuous improvement, student success, and mission fulfillment, and it has 3 major sections. The first is an executive summary of no more than 3 pages where the college describes how we define and measure mission fulfillment. The tricky part is you only get 3 pages, so that's to our advantage. We'll highlight our framework for institutional effectiveness that is based upon the college's progress with the new strategic plan, along with the definition of mission fulfillment that's based upon the high-arching vital measures for each of the strategic objectives. We're following NWCCU guidance with not having more than 19 measures. Currently, we have 12. These are subject to change as the administration continues to review the measures of the strategic plan, like what Dr. Duman just did. The goal of the first section of the report is to give NWCCU a clear snapshot on how accreditation is embedded in our ongoing practices, not just a one-time exercise. The second section of the mid-cycle report focuses on student achievement. The college will provide an overview of the student success metrics that we regularly track, like retention, completion, persistence, and post-graduation success. But more importantly, we must include comparative data, benchmarks from at least 5 other institutions we consider peers. NIC uses comparative data from IPEDS and most recently from the National Community College Benchmarking Project. NIC is the only NWCCU school that is a member of NCCBP. Oh, thanks. Oh, that's a good thing. With NCCBP, not many colleges in the Northwest have it. We're at an advantage in that we have over several hundred measures that we could take advantage of with other colleges across the United States, and that puts us at a great advantage with meeting accreditation standards. But just as critical, we must also disaggregate those student outcomes by categories that are meaningful for the college. One great example was the recent identification of low student achievement in 2 general education areas with students living in student housing. The SLOA committee has recently concluded a survey and are preparing results to bring forward for improvements to close this achievement gap. The goal for this section, the second section of student achievement, is to identify achievement gaps and demonstrate efforts to close them, ensuring success for every student at NIC. As part of our student achievement efforts, North Idaho College has launched 2 major strategic initiatives, which Dr. Duman just covered, improving recruitment retention and also first-year student experiences, and those initiatives are highlighted in the report. Despite facing an accreditation sanction, the college implemented these initiatives in 2023 in alignment with the strategic planning goals. The recruitment and retention initiative helped reverse a 12-year enrollment decline and achieved a 75.4 fall-to-fall retention rates, way above the national average. NIC's first-year experience program, launched in the fall of 2022, also showed early success with spring 2025 retention rates for participants slightly outpacing non-participants. Both initiatives are data-informed, strategically aligned, and part of NIC's broader commitment to continuous improvement in student outcomes. The third section of the mid-cycle report requires us to showcase assessments from at least 2 academic programs. And this is the one where you don't get those volunteers. It's when you do, most of the departments look around behind like no eye contact. But we're very thankful for welding and anthropology to showcase their efforts. We wanted one in general education and transfer and one in CTE. We are prohibited from including program assessments from programs already evaluated by specialized accreditors. And what's happening in the past is, let's say that you showcase nursing and we showcase rad tech, and they give us a favorable report because their bar is higher than NWCCU. So when the team comes in and looks at everyone else, sometimes the programs that don't have that high of a bar, I mean, it's hard to, it's a false positive is to say that. It's a more accurate representation by allowing colleges just to showcase those programs that aren't nationally accredited. And the goal of this section is for the commission reviewers to provide feedback so the college can adjust practices in time for the year 7 in 2027. Just to remind everybody, we're in year 6 of our cycle. Year 7 is just a year away, so we'll be scrambling, but we'll do our best with the feedback that we receive. This section will also highlight the college's efforts since 2020 with the development of individual course assessments, general education assessments, and program assessments using a dashboard developed in conjunction with the leadership of SLOA, the Student Learning's Outcome Assessment Committee, several faculty, e-learning, institutional research, and accreditation. We're very excited to highlight in the report about the grassroots efforts with the development of an internal dashboard used to record learning outcomes and the ability to track and disaggregate the data using categories that are meaningful to NIC and use these results for program improvements. The 2 programs that we are including in the report will highlight some of the processes that were used during their program reviews. Right now you see our second slide there. As you can see, we're addressing 9 total recommendations from 3 different time periods, 2020, 2022, and 2024. The asterisks represent non-compliance recommendations that we need to still continue to make progress as we receive feedback from NWCCU that we're on our way, we just need more time. The first 2 recommendations on the list are from 2020, and those are overlapped with the requirements of the mid-cycle that I just went over with you. So we get to pick and choose what we're going to include in the regular sections of the mid-cycle report and what to include on those 2 recommendations. And we're gonna have to rely on Ed Harry for that, just because we don't wanna keep repeating ourselves. So we're looking forward to his feedback there. For the governance-related items, the report will document the significant and ongoing progress of the Board of Trustees, including a series of high-impact trainings and orientations conducted since December 2024. These sessions have been led by Dr. Debbie DeThomas and Mr. Ken Burke from ACCT, and have been focusing on strengthening governance practices, clarifying roles, and supporting institutional recovery. These sessions have focused on best practices in governance, strategic planning roles, financial oversight, and effective trustee-president collaboration. This partnership with ACCT has yielded measurable progress. The report will contain evidence of how the board meetings are now conducted with professionalism, order, and respect. The board and president are operating as a strategic leadership team guided by mutual accountability and the no surprises principle. And most notably, all three constituency groups, faculty, staff, and students, have formally rescinded their votes of no confidence, citing improved communications, ethics, and governance conduct. These actions are a major step in restoring community trust and setting up the college with an opportunity to return to good standing. Dr. Simpkins, Dr. Gruber, Godfrey, and I have been following the format agreed upon during our recent board training, aligning each response with evidence from board meetings, consultant feedback, and documented outcomes. Each recommendation has about 8 to 12 writing points, if you remember from your notes from the last training that we formulated, that you all formulated, and is up to date except for the beginning of tonight's meeting. We'll start updating that as soon as we can tomorrow. Going on, there's several key dates. These dates will follow the same time frame of the previous 3 visits. Our goal is to have the first draft of the mid-cycle at the end of this month. And then we have, as Dr. Swain mentioned, we had 1 board meeting left. And then during the final week of August, we'll have a final review, and now I'll have to rely on Tom Green and his folks to help us pretty up that document. Then we submit it, and then we'll wait to hear back from the team chair and Ed Harry to see if there's any major issues, but we're really experienced in submitting reports, so I think we have that covered. The time period there, if you remember the 777, this will still come into play. 7 days after the team leaves, we'll receive a report, then we have 7 days to turn it around, then 7 days for the commission to give us that report, then we have 10 days to formally respond if we want to. And then we'll have a commission meeting in January 27th through the 30th in Seattle. And then we'll expect to hear from 30 days. And last, the PERFR update, 29 standards, and just thanks to the team and their staffs, because as of today, we have a first draft, except for one, and that one we're 75%. It's facilities and technology. I always call it the big monster. Laura, bless her heart, agreed to take that on, Dr. Gruber Godfrey. She's done a great job with collecting the information, and besides that, we're in great shape. But that concludes my report. Do you have any questions? Anything else, sir?
Anyway, I just want to say thank you, and I want to just also add that I'm very confident in the progress of this board and the administration, okay? And I'm very confident for what's going to happen in the near future.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
Can you go back one slide, though, for quick? Just for the trustees, typically when they do their visit in October, we've done this a couple times over the last couple years. They'll want to meet with trustees usually the morning of the first day of the visit. So block out the morning of the 16th, and they'll usually have the trustees meet as a group and then meet as individually in pairs after that. And that's kind of what I would expect to see during this visit. So take a look at your calendars on the 16th of October, and if you can, block out that morning. Yep.
Okay, and next on the agenda is Economic Impact Report.
On report.
Chair Corkill, Trustees, President Swain, NIC Community, thank you for having this item on the agenda tonight. Seems like the theme for tonight is metrics, and in staying with that theme, we will be offering a economic impact study. That was conducted by Lightcast, which is a company out of Moscow. We've been working with them for the last 3 months or so, and they were gracious enough to drive up here and give us a presentation on their findings. This analysis supports the goal 3.1 in that strategic plan that Lloyd was talking about earlier. And 3.1 emphasizes collaboration with regional partners and to anticipate shifting demands in education and workforce development. With that, I'm going to turn the tool chest over to Hannah Ruffridge with Lightcast. Thank you, Hannah.
Good evening, President Swain, Chair Crokel, trustees, community members, and IC staff. Thank you for having us today. My name is Hannah Ruffridge. I'm an economist and director of consulting at Lightcast. This is quite special for me because we are located in Idaho. We are just an hour and a half south. So thank you for having both myself and Kane Anderson here today. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the economic impact study that we did for NIC, but first a little bit about Lightcast. We've actually been doing these economic impact studies for almost 25 years now. We've conducted over 3,000 economic impact studies. 2.7 million students have used Lightcast Career Coach tool, and 8 out of 10 prize finalists for the Aspen Award are Lightcast customers. So basically what that says is we are very well known across the United States for working with colleges and universities. We also work in Canada, UK, as well as across the globe. Our economic impact study actually consists of 2 different analyses. We have an economic impact analysis, which is where we are looking at how an event or an institution affects the local economy. In other words, if NIC did not exist, how would the economic activity change within the region? The second analysis is the investment analysis, and for this one, we're looking at the return on investment to the primary stakeholder groups, students, taxpayers, and society as a whole. A little bit about the service area and about the region. I'm going to refer to it as region or local economy throughout the presentation. So for this, we are looking at the 5 counties below that you can see listed there up in northern Idaho. The gross regional product within these counties is $13.3 billion with over 156,000 jobs within the counties. I'm sure you all have seen graphs that look like this with the education levels and earnings by education level. Every chart that I see has slightly different numbers, but they are all the same in the trend. As you achieve higher levels of education, you tend to make more money, and we will be using that idea here. Not only do we use data from your region and from the state, we also collected data from NIC as well. The study focuses on fiscal year 2023-2024. During that year, NIC served just over 5,000 credit students, under 5,000 non-credit students, 869 employees with a payroll of $44 million. Tuition revenue came in at $6.3 million with 10% of students coming from outside the region. That means that you're serving 90% primarily students from in the region. You're helping to upskill and increase the knowledge and the skills of your regional workforce for your regional employers. Sliding right into the economic impact analysis. Our economic impact analysis, we break it out into 3 different types of impacts. The first impact is the operation spending impact. And for this impact, we're looking at the impact from NIC simply operating, paying your employees, buying chairs, computers, desks, all that has an impact on your regional economy. When you pay your employees then go and spend the money at local restaurants or the grocery store. Well, the grocery store has to restock their shelves from their suppliers have to reach out to their suppliers, and there's that ripple or multiplier effect that we see down the supply chain. In fiscal year 2023-2024, NIC added $53.2 million in income to the regional economy. I want to emphasize this is in terms of income, not in terms of sales. So sales you can think of as, say you buy a computer from Microsoft, well, a lot of that money might be going towards Seattle, towards the manufacturer. Sale income is the money that we're actually having stay within the regional economy. It's staying within your regional employers and within the pockets of your regional residents. So that's what we are measuring here. You can think of it as also being synonymous with gross regional product as well. Another piece of information I'd like to talk about is that in the beginning, I said we're looking at a scenario of what if NIC did not exist. Well, if NIC did not exist, we can't just say that all the revenue that NIC received and then spent would just disappear. Some of that revenue came from in-region sources. 90% of the students are from the region. Tuition revenue is an example. So if NIC did not exist, some of that in-region revenue would have been spent in other ways within the region. That might be on a nicer apartment or a better car. So that money would have still impacted the economy in an alternative impact. So we actually measure that alternative impact and we subtract it out. So the idea is that you can truly claim that this $53.2 million would not have existed within the region without NIC. And you can back up that claim. This is equivalent to supporting 956 jobs. The next impact is the student spending impact. And for the student spending impact, we're looking at the impact of both your students that relocated, so a portion of your 10% of students that are from outside the region relocated into the region and are now spending money in the region on rent, gas, groceries, and that's helping to grow the regional economy. The second piece are retained students. So 90% of students are from the region. A portion of them would have left the region if not for NIC. So you're helping to keep and retain their spending within the regional economy, and that's helping to grow the region. That spending, along with the ripple or multiplier effects, you come up with $14.2 million in added regional income. Again, this is in terms of income, equivalent to supporting 263 jobs. And finally, we have the alumni impact. And the alumni impact, you can see here, is by far the largest impact. Other businesses can say that they have a operation spending impact. Maybe they attract visitors. But the alumni impact is truly unique to higher education institutions. You're continually producing this human capital that then regional employers can use and help grow the regional economy. So for the alumni impact, we are looking at the alumni that you served in previous years. And then we're looking at, of those alumni, how many are actively working within the regional workforce today. Because you could have served somebody back in 2002, but they're still able to make higher wages and higher earnings because of the education that they received in 2002. And they're still able to make those higher wages today. So this $205.9 million is an annual impact during fiscal year 2023-2024. And we are specifically looking at the higher earnings. So that chart that I showed earlier, we're looking at the increase in earnings that your alumni will be making because of the education that they received at NIC. We also look at business profits because alumni are now more skilled and knowledgeable. They're able to help your regional businesses become more productive, more efficient, and thus more profitable. This impact is, you can also talk about in terms of jobs, it's equivalent to supporting just over 2,700 jobs. We can sum up these three types of impacts, and the total impact came to $273.2 million in added income to the regional economy. Because this is equivalent to gross regional product, you can claim that you represent 2.1% of the gross regional product, just NIC. That's really a strong number, as you guys are really an economic engine within the region. You can also, if you say money doesn't speak to you, think about in terms of jobs. This is equivalent to supporting just under 4,000 jobs within the region. Or my personal favorite is for 1 out of every 39 jobs is supported by NIC and its students in some way. 1 out of every 39. We do look at impacts by industry, so this is not just where your alumni are likely to go based on your programs, this is also where your students and your employees and the college itself is spending its money. So that's why you may see things like retail, trade, and accommodation, because students and employees are spending their money. But you also see things like healthcare and social assistance up there, as well as government non-education. Before I move on to the investment analysis, I want to pause. Are there any questions? Okay. The investment analysis, before we were focused on that 5-county region, and now we're going to zoom out and look at the state as a whole. And for each perspective, we will be looking at the costs and the benefits incurred by that perspective. So for students, you have the costs, you have your obvious costs, tuition and fees, books and supplies. You also have your not so obvious costs, opportunity cost. Because students are in the classroom learning, they're actually giving up time and money that they could have been out in the workforce working. That's a cost to the students. Comparing those costs to benefits, we're looking at those higher future earnings. Because of the knowledge and the skills that they're gaining at NIC, they're now able to make more money when they enter the workforce throughout their working lifetime until they eventually retire. So we compare those benefits to the costs for your fiscal year 2023-2024 students, and you get a benefit cost ratio of 4.0. What this means is that for every, say, $10,000 that students invest in their education at NIC, they will receive $40,000 back in return for that investment. Or you can think of it in terms of an internal rate of return of 18.2%, which if you compare that to the 30-year average on the stock market is usually 9-10%. So investing in their own education at NIC will give them the most bang for their buck. The next step is the taxpayer perspective. So the taxpayer perspective, taxpayers invested right about the same amount of benefits that we're seeing here, but I'm going to focus on benefits for this presentation. Benefits are twofold. You have your future tax revenues. So because students are making more money, they're spending more money, they're paying more in taxes, income tax, sales tax. You also have businesses as well. You have top tax, taxes on production. So because the economy is growing, the college is spending money, you're helping to grow the state's tax base. You also have government savings. As students become more educated, they tend to commit fewer crimes. They tend to be healthier. They tend to not need income assistance as much. Those are all savings to the state taxpayers. So throughout your fiscal year 2023-2024 students' working lifetime, taxpayers will see $38.1 million in savings because of the education that NIC provided during the fiscal year. And finally, we have the social perspective, and this is really an everything perspective. I'm going to start with costs again. So costs, we're looking at all the college costs, all student costs. What did it cost the college and the students to generate all these benefits for society as a whole in Idaho? Benefits, we're looking at everything. So we're looking at the growth and the economic base within Idaho. This can also stem from your impact analysis. We're looking at the higher future earnings of your students. We're looking at the tax revenue. We're also looking at private and social savings, because there's private savings for not being incarcerated, for being healthier. So that is included within here as well. Comparing the benefits to the costs, we see a benefit cost ratio of 4.5 for every $10,000 invested. Society as a whole will see $45,000 in benefits. So they're not only recouping that dollar invested, they're getting another $3.50 on top of that. Just a quick overview of the results in terms of an impact analysis on that 5-county region. We're looking at $273.2 million in added income to the regional economy fiscal year 2023-2024. So this is again an annual impact. This represents 2.1% of the region's gross regional product, and this is equivalent to supporting nearly 4,000 jobs within the region that would have not been there without the existence of NIC. And on the investment side, we're looking at a very positive return on investment for both students and society. Taxpayers as a whole are going to see just over $38 million in benefits throughout your fiscal year 23-24 students' working lifetime. These are just a couple of suggestions for for next steps of how you guys can best use your results and incorporate it within speeches, on social media, use it for grant proposals, talk to state legislators, talk to potential industry partners and business leaders. So there are lots of different ways. Of course, we are here to support you as best we can. And that is all I had for you today. Are there any questions?
I'd like to make a comment. I want to thank you for such a wonderful presentation, and I'm very pleased that this information is now a part of the public record. Okay, it's very important for the community to know this.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a quick question, too. So, is there data from other community colleges like us? How does our data compare, or is there a comparison that can be made?
Yes, that's a great question, and I definitely understand the desire to provide some context around what these numbers truly mean. I will say that for the impact analysis, that is a very, very unique analysis for each college and university that we do, even within yourself. So because we looked at that 5-county region, that's your impact on that 5-county region. If we were to look at a 10-county region, or your impact on the state of Idaho, your impact would be drastically different. You would probably have a larger impact if we were to look at the entire state, but you would be a smaller fish in a bigger pond, essentially. So the impact analysis is difficult to compare because it's very based upon, yes, your institutional characteristics, but it's also based upon the regional characteristics and that defined regional choice. The investment analysis, that one is a little bit easier to compare because we do it at the state level for all institutions. We did look into this, and we aren't able to limit it just to Idaho. There aren't enough institutions to provide you with a good sample there. So we did expand it to colleges that we've worked with. I think we did Wyoming, Washington, Oregon. So we expanded it to those institutions within the past, say, 2 years, I think 2 or 3 years that we've done studies with. For the student investment analysis, NIC was slightly lower than the average that we're seeing. For the taxpayer analysis, pretty much right there. There are a lot of institutions and a lot of colleges, I should say, that are at that 1.0 benefit cost ratio mark. We actually saw a lot of that during and right after the COVID years for the additional funding that institutions are receiving from state and local taxpayers during those years, so that wasn't surprising. And then social perspective, you're just right below the average, I would say, across the other states. And do keep in mind there, because we did have to include other states, they all have their own funding structures and tax brackets and earnings as well. So take the comparison with a grain of salt.
Thank you again. It's a wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, on the consent agenda, I'm going to shake it up a little bit and jump to tab 3 and then tab 4. Tab 3 is approved permanent positions for program capacity expansion. And tab 4 is approved one-time expenditures from capital investment reserve. And I'd like to ask Dr. Swain to perhaps comment on those two.
Sure, happy to do that. As you recall, when Ms. Garcia did the budget, she addressed this $1.66 million in additional capacity improvement, capacity expansion that the state provided for CTE programs specifically. And at the time, she said we're going to invest that in people and in some facilities in order to expand those. And as we walked around today, Vicki explained some of those positions that we need out here. But I do have those, it's a total of 8.5 positions, and then some additional work, as she explained, storage capacity, storage facilities, some overhangs and storage for welding. I'll talk about the 8.5 FTE positions that were umbrella approved in the budget, but it's policy that we ask you for new positions. And so I'll go through the 8.5 positions, and, which accounts for about 780,000 of the 1.66. And then the remainder will be in facility improvements that are needed to increase capacity. So we have, as I said, 8.5 positions. We have medical lab technology professors. So NIC is taking on, as we have a couple of programs where we are the regional or the state leader of a consortium. And so we are taking that on for the MLT program. And so we need to have another instructor so that we can handle the instructional part of that program. So that's one FTE. Our dental hygiene program handles 15 students, and we're trying to increase that to 30 students. So to do that, there's again one of those 10-to-1 student-teacher ratios. So we have to increase that. We have 10 of those students here in Coeur d'Alene, and the other 5 in Lewiston. And so we need to have another instructor to handle the increased load on those. That's one of our most in-demand programs. And typically, students will actually move to Lewiston to take classes because they can get in easier in Lewiston than here. So we're trying to double that program, and we need to have a faculty member to provide that support. In addition to that, support in the dental clinic to help just dental clinic operations as we expand that is 1.5 classified staff. As last month, you all took a trip through the Meyer Health and Science Building, and you looked at all of the Sim Center stuff going on there. We have one technician in that space. It is a state-of-the-art system. We are expanding that and expanding the load on that as we start to increase the throughput of and the capacity of our medical programs. So we put ourselves at risk by only having one Sim Center technician. So adding a second Sim Center technician professional staff is one of the things required to increase that capacity. And then a student support navigator for health professions, helping the increased number of students through the pipeline is one full-time staff. As we talked about in the welding lab today, welding is one of our big in-demand programs. So we need to hire another welding faculty if we're going to increase that. We're talking about having 2 cohorts for year 1. So typically what happens is we admit a cohort for year 1 with the expectation that they will continue on, and usually half of them get jobs after the first year, and so they go out in the workforce, and then we don't have a full second year. And so what we're trying to do with this is meet the demand in the community by taking in 2 cohorts of first-year students so that the half that stick around from both of those will make a full cohort of the second year. So we need 1 new welding faculty. So the state gave us some money to build a new cybersecurity classroom. So we have that built now, but we need to, and there was a promise when they did that there would be some ongoing money. Now we need to staff that with a new cybersecurity professor. So we have 1 faculty member there. And then finally, graphic design. When I first got here, we had 1 cohort of graphic design, and just between the facility improvements and the faculty activity, that has now grown to 3 cohorts. And so we need to have another faculty member to handle the demand on that. And all of these positions, not only are they in demand by the students, they're in demand by the community. So the students are graduating from these programs or supported by the staff that we're going to hire all have jobs when they graduate, many of them making significant income upon graduation. So that's the plan for the expenditure and the justification for the new positions. And I'd ask for your approval of those 8.5 positions.
Okay, we would entertain a motion to approve tab number 3.
I move to approve tab number 3.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I guess I'd just like to say that between the 2 visits that we've done already this year, we got to see six of the programs affected by these positions. And at least for me, I mean, it's not that I don't think I wouldn't have thought we needed them, but it gives you a real visual and a real background for the need. So I think that's important.
And it's a very positive step for the college as a whole. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Vote passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Would you proceed with tab number 4, please?
Tab number 4 is expenditures for capital, and I'll call this the Knutson tab, because at the end of last budget meeting, she asked, what are we going to spend the capital expenses on? And it sort of struck me that we put money in, and we have in the past, since I've been here, the only thing we've used that funding for was purchase of property. But we really have a lot of expenses that are beyond what I would characterize as operational. And the threshold for that is generally around $50,000. And so when there's something greater than $50,000, it really should be capital, and we just have never exercised the use of our capital reserves. And so I started talking to Sarah about this and how do we manage that. And so we came up with a list, and we already had this list. We were just struggling with how to do with it, and I kind of like blinding flash the obvious. That's what the capital reserve is for. So I'll go through the list. For IT, we have capital expenses in terms of firewalls, $350,000, servers, $153,000, and the uninterrupted power supply systems, $132,000. Total for that is $635,000. And again, that's a one-time expense. We have equipment replacement fund. So replacing our, we think about desktops and laptops. Those things are pretty common to have in a replacement. But we also have a lot of that stuff that's in the Meyer Health Science Building that needs to be replaced and renewed, as well as some of the equipment out here. And so there's $250,000. We have a fund for that, but the past couple of years we have not been able to fund it sufficiently to catch up. And so we have about a $250,000 shortfall, and so that would be a one-time catch-up to get us up, caught back up on our scheduled equipment replacement. Small Business Development Center, we purchased the Fort Ground Grill the same day that I was hired. So I was not part of the purchase, but it did happen at the same time that I was brought on board as president. And that is a perfect place for the Small Business Development Center. Currently, it's located in the Headland Building. And for those of you that are familiar with the Headland Building, it's kind of hidden. There's no real good dedicated parking space. You got to go around to the side of the building in order to get in. And so we've repurposed the Small Business Development Center into the old Fort Ground Grill. And that's gone through all of the approval process. We had some funding, about $700,000, I want to say, just shy of $1 million to do the renovation of that and turn it into a really nice small business development center. It would have its own parking and everything. But we're about between furniture and the final plan for that, we're about $300,000 short. So we need to have a $300,000 injection of funding to furnish that and finish the funding on the renovations. Many of you have been into Molstead Library, so the next item is the Molstead lobby and hallway furniture. So this is the furniture that exists outside of the main library where they have controlled access. So you see students in there studying in the upstairs in the adult degree area. There are students in the hallways, students outside all the time. It gets a huge amount of traffic, and the furniture in there, as Amber Haas eloquently noted, is from the 90s, and they called and want it back. And so we would like to replace that furniture. Anybody heard of this end-up furniture it's this end up furniture. I mean, it probably isn't from that company, but it's that same kind of like 2x4 edge with cushions that the straps have broken out of. So when you sit down, you really sit down. And it just needs to be replaced. We went through a study with a firm, and they really helped us design a nice layout of that, and it's about $250,000 to get that furniture removed and replaced with more modern stuff. And on the subject of libraries, as we noted this back at previous institutions and around the country, people aren't checking out books the way they used to. They still use libraries as a resource, but almost all of the material is available online. And so redesigning the space so that it meets the current needs of libraries as they are being used as a resource center and not a book checkout will really bring us into the 21st century. We need to have help with that, and so we're asking for $65,000 to fund a study to figure out what do we do with that. And then we'll come back next year, or as soon as they're done, and if they make a recommendation that requires a strategic purchase of capital that reaches into the capital area, and we'll come back next year and ask for the actual furniture. Headland Building, we have 3.2 million-ish for renovations, but the renovations that's provided by the state, that'll start taking place this year. What that doesn't cover is furnishings and IT equipment to really make that a usable space. It's a big space, a big area. It covers 4 bays in the Headland Building. It will be a state-of-the-art facility that will really help us with our culminating experience for students and other innovation projects, and that's about $750,000 in equipment. And then finally on the list, and I think I'm really proud of this one, the American Indian Center, the funding for the renovation actually came from money that was deposited years ago in the foundation, and has since grown to the point that it covers the total cost of the renovation, but it doesn't cover the furnishings. And so we need to have $250,000 to really outfit that facility so that it's something we can be proud of and the tribe can be proud of. And this, oh, by the way, completes our obligation and commitment to the tribe as part of the 9-point agreement. So the total cost for all this material is $2.5 million, and I would ask for your approval to use the capital investment fund for these purchases.
Okay. Any questions, or anybody want to make a motion?
I move that we approve the one-time expenditures from the Capital Reserve Fund as presented.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, under discussion, anything? I would just like to say that it's very important that the public know what we are spending and why. And so that was a very clear report, and I appreciate that. So, hearing no more discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Now, the remainder here is tab 1, and that's approve the regular board meetings for May 28th. Tab 2, reschedule the August board meeting to August 20th. Tab 5, approve second reading of policy 3.04.02, annual vacation leave. Tab 6, approve decommission on second reading policy 3.04.06.02, personal leave. And tab 7, approve on second reading policy 3.04.09, family medical leave. These have already been discussed before, so I would just ask for a motion to pass them all in one motion.
I move that we pass the balance of the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you. Final new business. First reading of policy 3.02.21, faculty evaluation.
So this is one that I'm very pleased with and very happy with the work that Dr. Simpkins has put into this. I think this has been going on for upwards of 2 years, around that.
Since 2017.
Oh,
Yeah, but my work has only been the last couple of years on it.
So
Yeah.
when I got here, there was a lot of concern, distrust with how faculty evaluations were done. It was lumped into some changes that were made in the tenure policy, and I wasn't happy with how things were going. I asked Lloyd and Sherry to look into it, and Sherry really took the lead on it. And I think what we have now is a policy that is approved by the faculty, supported by the faculty, supported by Senate, and I'll let Sherry talk about the elements of it, but she gets the credit for shepherding it through about 3 different times in the past 2 years.
Yeah, it took a couple, just
Yeah,
the past
so-
couple of years. Yeah, thank you. The changes to the policy, I think, are pretty straightforward. The first paragraph is just changing to a more generic accrediting body. You'll notice the one that's listed, the name changed. We're not under Northwest Association of Schools. It's just a name change. So we've just broadened that to just say institutional accreditation standards. That way, if there's any future name changes, we're good to go there. Kind of moving down, just minor edits throughout the policy to clean up the language on it. We've added the criteria, and this criteria is also aligned with our tenure criteria, so it makes it really clear for faculty exactly what they're writing and being evaluated on. And then it looks like there's large changes to kind of the bottom portion, and it's really not. It's just taking out the policy numbers to each of the different policies. That way, as we go through and update our numbering on our policies, it's not throwing this one out of whack as well. So the policies are just listed, just not the numbers there. So pretty straightforward. On the procedure, we did really a lot of work at the urging of President Swain. One of the main changes is having all courses and all faculty evaluated every course, every semester, just as a way to get good feedback to our faculty so they can continually improve. And that's really what faculty evaluation is about, is that continual improvement. Are there any questions?
I will say also, we clarified that faculty evaluations are part of their evaluation packet and part of their HR file, so they're not subject to public records. They are a sealed document that is, and I think that's one of the things that really helped the faculty move forward with this, is that it's not something that's going to get out there, and it's really a tool that they can use with their supervisor to continuously improve as faculty.
Yeah.
Any questions, comments?
I had a quick comment, is that I really appreciate that there's so many criteria that are used in the evaluation tool, because I think that it's more helpful to the person receiving it, but it also isn't so dependent on just one focus. And so I think that's really solid.
Thank you.
Okay, this is the first reading, but that does not mean we cannot approve it on the first reading. And since this has been a work in progress for 8 years, I might suggest that we do that. Anybody?
My microphone's on. I will motion that we approve the policy as presented.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you very much. Board Subcommittee Report. We have 2 trustees on this one.
All right, well, the policy subcommittee has met on 3 occasions. It's been Trustee Havercroft, myself, President Swain, Dr. Debbie DeThomas, and Kristen Howard in attendance. We've reviewed these extensively. I think the last time I spoke to this is we've reviewed them, we've made some modifications, we've come back, done it twice. So we feel like after these 3 revisions, we feel really confident what we're bringing forward is some really good changes. And we have 5 that we're going to bring that are on the normal cycle for review. And Trustee Havercraft is going to go over the 2.0101 and 2.0102.
And I think definitely 0101 is pretty self-explanatory. There were just some cleanup. There were things that were moved a little bit. You can see that we changed the revised days and the reviewed date. We also added that legal citations at the bottom to include other citations as well as Idaho codes or laws that were applicable, and in this case, it was the Idaho code. So that was 01. And then 02, likewise, was just a cleanup, really. We took out some things that did not apply to the board specifically. And then that's really pretty much all that we did with that, except we did look at the ending where it talks about the liaisons, and included some other liaisons that were not listed previously, to the North Idaho Booster Club, liaison to KTEC, and then left it open so that we could, it would include other people that came up as groups asked us to be part of their committees or provide that link to their committees. So we could do that without going back and rewriting the policy. But we can add any others as we review it next time. So.
I think I'll just add a little bit, if that's
Sure.
okay. So on the first page, we're under responsibilities, section A. We removed something that was no longer or never was statutory responsibility. And then towards the back, we added a section 3, which is on page 4, and talks about trustee roles, and that's where those 3 liaisons are. So that kind of fits nicely with the policy there. And then we also added the portion about non-trustee roles, so we defined what the board clerk is and how that person is put into that role, and then we just re-enumerated the standards of good practice. So it looks like there's a lot going on here. It's not, it's just more organized.
It is, and some of the roles that were discussed were not, they weren't trustee. They needed to be in a separate category or taken out, so it just makes it cleaner.
Okay, yes?
Thank you. Appreciate the work that you,
Well, we have a few more to do.
oh,
All right, so let's see. The next one we're going to review, and like this is the first time we're bringing these to the full board for discussion and for review. We do not have to approve them all. I just kind of wanted to go through and discuss them all at one time, and then we can go through individually, and if, we choose to take a vote on approving some of them, or all of them, or just a few, we can do that. So, the next one is policy 2.01.03. Again, the top part of the policy, we've really cleaned that up, and of course, we changed the revised date. If there's a legal citation that we've had to change, we've done that, and we've added the not applicable or removed it in certain places. But under responsibilities, I think I'm on the wrong one. Okay, this is the policy on meetings, and so this first part, section 2, order of business, the red line, we've taken that out and put it into a section 3 on another policy, and we'll get to that at the end. Page 2 of 3 on the red line, We just reordered and added something to the order of business for the meeting, so we'll verify a quorum after convening the meeting, and then we'll approve the agenda. And that part that we've added, I'll speak to when I discuss some of the other things that we've added. Section 3 policies has been moved to another policy, and then adding items to the agenda. This one, we spent a lot of time discussing. We've looked at policies from other community colleges in the country. And like with a lot of the policies that we've reviewed for the last few years, there's been nothing really for us to look to as a guideline or something that we would say, hey, that's really what we want to use. So we've done a lot of picking little pieces from other policies, but we've really kind of reinvented the wheel or invented the wheel all along the way. So adding items to the agenda, it's really tiny printing, but this whole red line here is pretty new. It's so hard.
This is where we, we've lived through what we call the Troubles, and part of what came out of that was a real appreciation and understanding and maybe frustration with a divided board where you have a 3-2 split or something like that, where the minority is trying to get something on the agenda and can't find a way to do that. And so the red line on page 3 is really delineating a process for doing that. And so, and that's what necessitated the change to add in our approval of the conduct of the meeting, to add an approval of the agenda, so that if someone has exhausted all other avenues, the last avenue is to come in and say, I'd like an item added to the agenda, and then really what that would do is force a public vote to modify the agenda or not. And so so at least then it's public that they want something on there, and it was publicly approved or denied. And so going through this with Deputy Thomas, she's like, nobody's got this clean. So I think this will become a model policy, and we spent a lot of time on that.
I think it will be a model policy, if any of them they are, but especially if you look at number 6A, the trustee can make a motion to add the item to a future meeting agenda. This motion will require a simple vote to succeed. If the board votes by a simple majority to add an item to a future meeting agenda, the president and board chair will determine the time necessary. So there's a pathway for this to happen. But on the other side of it, the trustee can make a motion to add the item to the existing agenda. So if there's recourse in all situations, but in that particular situation, to the existing agenda. So if it's something that's really, really important, you can do it. It just needs to be a super majority. So we're really being respectful of the minority and giving them an opportunity to really get something on the agenda if that's what that they feel so strongly about. So yeah, this is, I think, one of our better policies, and it's being respectful of a board of trustees for a majority and for a minority so that all voices are heard. Missing anything on this one?
No.
Okay.
No,
Trustee Abercroft, did you want to add anything on this?
No, I said, I think that covers it. It's very clear to somebody looking at it what your avenues are, and they're there for everyone to access,
Yep.
so.
Okay, then, number 5, communications with Board of Trustees. Not a lot on this one. It's just cleaning up the legal citations, and it's also a reference to the best practices identified in trusteeship and community college as a guide for effective governance. So that's really a good handbook for boards to use. And this puts it in policy so future boards can refer to that and even know that it exists as a reference. So not much there, just really helpful tool for boards. And then the last one, policy 14. This is where we moved from the other policy, section 3, and we added it to this one. So this is the policy on policies. This was the new one that was created in 2023 because our board really didn't have a way to manage policies, define policies, bring them to the board, change them, and policies are really how we function as a board, so it's super important. Section 3, review of policy and procedures. So we have a standing committee. That's not really new for us, but we have broken it out and kind of explained it a little differently on how the committee is formed and who is on it. So there will be 2 trustees selected from the full board, the president, a representative from the president's office, and then an outside ad hoc expert as needed. So that's really, the board makes that decision, and that's what we've done this time. This policy just kind of lays it out a little differently, a little more simply. The review schedule is the same, and then section 4, adoption, deletion, and revision of board internal governance policies and procedures. This is something I think we're the most proud of as a policy committee. We've really put into place a measure that will protect the board and the college from having a board policy submitted without some really good reason to do so. So the first red that you see there says, in extreme emergencies of a very unique nature, the board may temporarily suspend a policy. The suspension will require a 2/3 majority vote of the board, taken by roll call with the results entered in the minutes of the meeting along with the reasons for temporary suspension. So that's not something that we had before, but it's really important, as I said, as a protective measure. But in the event that there is an emergency, we have a path to use. And then the next paragraph talks about how long does that emergency last. If it lasts longer than 90 days, we'll need to take it to another vote. If it lasts more than 180 days, well, golly, this policy really needs to be reviewed by the subcommittee. So that's what that's all about. And that's pretty much that policy. Again, another model policy that I think puts our community college on a national level for somebody to look to on how to write board policies. We can either make a motion to discuss each policy and vote on each one, or if someone wants to make a motion to...
I'm confident in the time and effort and work that you've put into this, and I thank you very much for that. I mean, that's really more than I've ever done, so. So I would ask for one motion for everything.
I'll make that motion to approve all the policies that were in the agenda this evening.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I'll just say I think that the board is making a good decision to approve the policies. The board subcommittee has worked on it for months and months and months. We've revised it. It's been explained, and there's nothing extraordinary in here, just some really good things.
I appreciate that. One quick question. Are there more policies to be reviewed?
The next policy review will be the year 2 policies, and those begin in August.
Okay. All right.
So we're on a rotation schedule now, which makes it nice that at least every 3 years, each policy will be revised.
And we're actually doing it.
Yes. Yes. Eve.
Okay. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Motion passes. Any remarks for the good of the order? Hearing none, meeting adjourned.